So today I'm going to talk about SME Friendly Business tools. And some of you are SMEs. I don't know how many of you are SMEs or aspiring SMEs. If you're a startup, you're maybe aspiring to become an SME. And if you're an SME, maybe you're aspiring to become a large company. So hopefully all these things will apply and you'll get some value. As Rika mentioned, just a little bit about myself to start with. I'm really a sales guy, and a lot of people don't like to admit that because sales can be pretty, yucky. No one likes to be sold to. But sales is a bit of an art form. It's not a science, but it's an art form. So I'm proud to admit that I've been in sales pretty well all my working life, almost all my working life. And sales there's a bit of a spin around sales in everything I talk about. So hopefully that won't deter too much from the discussion today. But I'm not sure if I qualify as an entrepreneur, to be honest. Transparently speaking, I don't know if I'm an entrepreneur because I'm sort of halfway between. I've been an employee for half my life and enjoyed it and really took on a bit of a self-employed attitude in what I was doing in the companies that I work for. But the other half, I started a bunch of companies. I've started 5, I think, in all, yeah. A couple of dismal failures, I have to tell you, which I won't talk about today, but it adds to the experience. And a couple of really good ones. One of which I sold in 2004, and that's how I ended up at IBM, which in the end, IBM then brought me to this region 6 years ago. So I've been here for 6 years. I know the local customs a little bit. My Arabic is pretty average, but it's a good thing today we're doing this in English. And I began my new entrepreneurial career in the UAE at Maestrano, which is a company which we'll talk a little bit about today. The agenda really is talking about growth and talking about tools that will help you grow and scale. So I don't know if you've looked into it, depending on what stage you're at in terms of your business, but there are different ways that you can grow. There are some skills you need, all sorts of things. So we'll talk about the different disciplines and how tools can help. But also, and I'll try and demonstrate if the camera work and tech will help, I'll do a quick demonstration of something that might be relevant. But essentially we focus on growth. Whether you're a small business or a large business, some of these things do apply. And in terms of technology and tools and business tools, the small end of the market, if you like, if you're a small company, if you don't have a lot of funds to invest, you'll find that it's a very difficult thing to do to get the right tools, to get the right help. Because you don't have huge spend, the large companies can't afford to spend a lot of time with small companies because the projects don't have the size and warrant the effort. So sometimes that's a bit of a problem. It's very hard to find good value, good solutions for the smaller end of the market. And in a way, that's kind of a shame because these are the tools that would help you grow to become a big business. And it's kind of a catch-22. So I'll talk about that a bit. So I just want to start with one thing, is that one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a small business, a startup or a small business, is to think like a small business. And as Rika said, the slides will be made available. So it's something which I like to talk about because if you think like a small business, there's a good chance you're going to stay a small business. And to just push the boundaries a little bit about thinking about what a large business might be doing in this particular area is in its own right food for thought that you'll find valuable. And quite the opposite though, unfortunately, a lot of large companies should think more like startups. And you find in some large companies that I've worked for, it's very hard to be innovative and agile and look after people. You end up caught in a process of just doing what the company does worldwide. So it's kind of a balance. It is a balance. But small businesses are better with people, generally, but they lack the ability to scale. Large companies can scale out to wherever, but they forget about the people. So there's kind of a balance that we like to talk about maybe a little bit today. So I want to see the screen there. I'm trying to stay in a narrow zone so that the camera guy can get me. But and small businesses can be agile. They can be innovative. They can reinvent themselves constantly. If the market moves, a small business is going to move much quicker than a big business. But there is also a downside to that. So we talk about some of these things. Customer focus is really paramount, and whoever your customer is, you know, it's like pretty glib. A lot of people talk about customer focus, but what does that actually really mean is important to discover and think about. So with a view of, rather than just telling you about some tools that, you know, I happen to be involved with, rather than just talk about tools, let's talk about some of the things that you need tools for. What do you need tools for? You know, why is it important to have some tools to help you in your business? Now, there's lots of different disciplines that you might need in a business, whether you're a startup or whether you're a mature business or whether you're becoming a large business. Things like marketing, PR, advertising, finance, pretty important, wouldn't you think? There's plenty of room out the front. Operational, from sales perspective, which is where I come from, service, and there's other things probably, other disciplines. This is on top of the specialist, you know, skills that you have that you're marketing. You may be engineering, maybe the different products or services. Now, depending on where you're at, it will really impact the kind of level of, people talk about maturity, but that's a bit insulting, I find. It's not about maturity, it's about just getting to the right things in the right time as appropriate within the scale of the business that you're in. You know, if you're in one geography, you don't need to worry about the worldwide PR plan and things like that. So you really got to be focused on what's relevant. But depending on what level of growth or stage of the business that you're in, will require different disciplines. Whether it's startup through to global domination. Maybe it's global domination comes after this, I guess, so we're just going to stop it here. But regardless, if you're a startup or a small business getting started, generally you're going to focus on yourself, and it's all going to be about what you do that matters the most. You know, from a people perspective, maybe your network as well. So if you have a network, you're going to leverage your network. At a startup, it's going to be about your skills and discipline around business planning. You know, maybe there's a lot of people can help you with that. And this Innovation Week, I think in the TECOM and In5, they have lots of different sessions that some of them, I'm sure, will talk about business planning. What's really important at the startup stage is your USP, or unique selling proposition, or unique business value. And that's really important to get right, because it's usually part of your business plan. What is it that makes you unique that you're offering to market? Promotion becomes important when you're a startup. Sales is paramount. You need to create revenue, and revenue doesn't happen on its own. You need to help it. I'm sure you, regardless of the phase that you're in, your initial phase is to focus on bringing in the customers with a view to selling them some value that you get rewarded for. So really, at a startup phase, I maintain, there's a lot of people who will argue this, it's kind of controversial if we have accountants or we have the marketing people or something like that. For me, it's all about the revenue when you start up. Revenue, revenue, revenue. Later on, cash might become important in terms of how you manage that, how effective you are at cost control, etc. But in the initial stages, really focusing on revenue, it doesn't make sense to not spend most of your time there. And as you grow, obviously things change. You need to adopt additional disciplines, and you may think about not just what you do, but what the rest of the team does. You'll have a team by then. You might have a number of locations that you operate from, and then that brings new problems and challenges that you need to deal with. Some of you will have gone through this, and your network becomes, it's really your network of networks starts to come into play. Business plan is one thing, you've done that, but now it's about business priorities. You know, of all the things you can do, what's the best thing you can do today, this week, this month? So priorities becomes a real challenge when you're a small business and you're growing, because decisions can have a big impact on the future. So having good advice, good help, good tools to determine your priorities becomes really important. Other areas, USP doesn't go away pretty well. Some big companies have forgotten, but essentially USP, what makes you unique, why people are going to buy your product or service or buy you or your staff, is still going to remain there all the time. You're not just promoting yourself, you're going to be now implementing marketing. You have inbound marketing, outbound marketing, all sorts of digital marketing that you can do. A lot of great discussion and sessions on digital marketing. I'm not going to focus on that, but there are lots of valuable resources and tools to help you with that. But doesn't end there. Sales is also very important when you're growing, and it becomes harder because if you're the business owner, you're usually the seller. The sales, it comes to you, you pitch it. When you have teams of salespeople, they are pitching on your behalf. So it gets harder. How do they pitch what is in your heart, all right? So it's your product, your baby, how do they get it? You have to enable them and help them to get it. So your USP is not just for you, it's to make sure everyone's on the same page. Marketing, sales, service. Service becomes important where you're in growth phase. Half of your sales force is going to need testimonials and reference customers to help you sell the next project or the next batch of products or the next container. So you need a service system to help you. So these are all disciplines. Revenue doesn't go away. You might have a bit more concern around cash when you're growing. You have to watch the costs. I'm not an accountant, but that's when we need them is kind of around here, because you're growing. It's very easy to make a bad decision about spending, which can impact you greatly and really adversely. So you've got to be careful of where you spend. Cash is important. Profit is going to be important. But as you're aspiring to scale, perhaps, as you're aspiring to go beyond just a small business, perhaps, you go to scale. And then it becomes a different game altogether. Because, if you didn't need any tools and advice when you're at this level, when you get to scale, you need good advice, you need good tools, you need good management discipline, and lots of other help, basically. As SMEs, we all grow, but we need a lot of help along the way. So when you're at the scale end of the table, it's not about you or a team anymore, it's about corporate culture and how you can duplicate what you're doing in one place in other places effortlessly without things breaking. It's not about you, it's about the identity that your company will portray. And digital world makes it very easy to get right, but also very wrong. So we have to be, one bad thing and it sort of accelerates very quickly. It's not just about a business plan or priorities, but it becomes about a strategy and specific strategies around aspects of your business that you want to develop. And, I don't want to belabor the point, but it doesn't become just about your unique value points, but it becomes about the general value you bring to your customers, your partners, your channels. It becomes a different kettle of fish altogether. Services are still, sales and service never goes away. Omni-Channel, a lot of people talk about Omni-Channel. Really what that means to small businesses, startups is you're not just going to sell to an end consumer, you might sell through other channels, whether it's retail, whether it's distribution, whether it's digital, channels, whether it's eCommerce as well as retail front, all of the different aspects of that. You're not talking about customer service, it's all about the whole end-to-end customer experience thing. So you probably get the point. You get down to the area where you're really focused on return on investment, return on assets, your resources, you're investing, you're spending money on a particular strategy, to execute on a strategy, you want a return on that investment, and those resources are deployed in a particular way. You need to see a return for those resources, otherwise you need to make a decision to change. So if you think like a small business, it's really beyond our means to be able to scale and leverage to this end, but yet we're aspiring to come this way. And it doesn't happen overnight, so it takes time, but you still have to start thinking about when you become a big business, when you grow up, you know, what are some of the tools and practices you need to implement. Now, getting down to some tools, these is by no means everything that, and you might have some specific things in your industry or in your business, but here are some tools we find. So remember, our company, I haven't talked about it too much, but we're focused completely on SMEs, so small and medium businesses. So we have some customers that have maybe 400 or 500 employees, and that kind of is where we top out. We kind of don't want to go much beyond that. But we start working with startups with no employees and help them with tools to run their business. And these are some of our experience in terms of what we found really resonates well and seems to make a difference. So as a startup, accounting is, you know, you don't have many beans to count yet, but you're a startup. You want to have some revenue, you want to have some profit. You may be just looking for investment, someone to help invest in your company. If you have investment strategies and if you have some investors participating, it changes things quite a bit. But essentially, you need to manage the money. So at some point, someone's looking for an exit. Your investors and yourself should be looking for an exit. And the exit could be in the future. But if you don't manage the money along the way, at some point you need revenue. You will have costs associated with all your business activities. You need to be able to manage the accounting. You know, it's not an ERP complex tool. There are some very good accounting tools that just help you manage debits and credits. And I recommend you look at a couple of them that are available. So it may be sort of, in Australia we'd say, you know, we're not telling people how to suck eggs, which means that it may sound a bit obvious, but there are many businesses that use Excel to manage their finance. So I recommend when you get to a point you want to look a little bit beyond that to start thinking this way. There are some good tools that help with better discipline around financial management. So there's quite a few. CRM is, you know, I talked earlier, it's really all about the revenue. It's about the sales. And a CRM system, a lot of people misunderstand greatly. It's not really a customer relationship management tool, even though that's what it's called. A CRM, when they first started coming out, I was around at that time. It's been around for a while, but when they first started coming out, they were called Salesforce Automation. And no one liked that because it had the sales word in it. And people don't want to call things selling because it's nasty, right? So instead of calling it selling tool, they call it a customer relationship management. But essentially, in the beginning, you really need to focus on that revenue aspect, and it's about how you manage the process. When the lead comes in, what do you do about it? So if you have a lead, which is what you want, right? You're a startup, you're a business, you want leads to manage and take through to fruition, hopefully what's called conversion. Now there's a process you need to adopt that takes a bit of doing. It doesn't happen by itself. When you're a small business, it's your business, it's in your heart, you know how to pitch it. Your staff may pitch it slightly differently, but customer relationship management to manage the sales process and how you manage leads is really what a CRM tool can help you in the early days. And here in the early days is lead management, opportunity management. When I say early days as well, it's early days of implementing the tooling, because you probably have, if you've been in business for a few years and have not implemented a CRM, there's a chance you've adopted some kind of process to deal with the leads and how you manage them. So I'm sure that's perfectly fine. And a CRM tool is just going to help you to develop that same process that you've defined in an automated way so you can scale and everyone is doing the same thing generally. So other things you could include there, email marketing. So a lot of people are doing digital marketing, email blasts, all sorts of things. Online surveys are quite good to generate some activity, ask people questions, understand how they feel about something, and take action on that basis. E-commerce is another. Web and e-commerce are also good tools you might want to start with. A lot of startups today without a web presence, it's unheard of, right? I mean, you just have to have a web presence. So really good, easy tools to generate a web presence and make it effective in terms of SEO and digital marketing. You need some of those tools. Now, as you grow, accounting maybe you might add financial analysis to help you make some decisions around the finance aspect of your business. You might add HR at this point. If you're growing and you have a team, you probably need some good disciplines around your people. So HR administration, payroll, maybe recruitment, maybe onboarding, things like this. Maybe education and training. There's a lot of HR related tools you can research. We have a number of them on our platform. You might also add an e-commerce or expand your e-commerce footprint at this point, because your geography could be expanding. So your scaling of e-commerce, rather than being local, potentially can go beyond your home and your city. So there's a little bit of work to do around that. And then as you look to scale, you might think about ERP. You might have inventory, aspects of inventory which are complex. So there are lots of tools available around ERP. You might start to have big teams around multiple geographies. You might think about rostering and time and attendance and all these other important HR aspects. You'd move into sales reporting, complex sales reporting. So CRM then becomes a little bit more around sales reporting. CRM at that point may also come into play from a customer service perspective. So the relationship aspects will come into play in CRM. You might also, depending on, again, this is all horizontal kind of tools as opposed to vertical business tools you might need for your specific industry that you're focused on, yeah? But you might also think about project management. Even if you're not a project management company, you'll have lots of projects, and there are great tools, online tools, that you can use to manage and collaborate with teams all around the place. So these are tools. There are lots. I mean, by no means, I'll show you a couple. We have quite a few, but there are in the cloud many tools available today. Some great tools. Not all of them on our platform. We're always looking to expand and bring new ones. But why would you need to implement any tools? It's about it's about getting it right, getting the right advice, but it's about automating so you can stay agile and innovate. So the tools are there to be able to do things in an automated fashion so that it's not always dependent on an individual person. And as a business owner, so it's not dependent on you per se. So if you have tools that automate your business process, this can happen in a repeatable fashion. And the higher level of automation, in every time we found all businesses, or the lower the level of automation, the less easy it is for you to innovate and grow. In effect, it's kind of a catch-22. You need to automate so you can do all the things that you need to do in all of the geographies that you operate in the same way, in the same quality manner that your company desires to perform. So the lower the automation, the harder it is to maintain the level of agility that you need in order to grow. So if you imagine, we can open up for a little bit for questions if you like and workshop a bit, but if you have a company that's based in the UAE and you expand to Saudi, Qatar, and let's just say Kuwait, and keep it in the GCC, it's not a trivial exercise to actually get all of those operations to work in exactly the same way and leverage the skill that you have as a business owner that you want to deploy in those geographies. So without automation, honestly, it's almost impossible to scale beyond too many geographies. This is with our experience. So you can grow, but it's difficult. You can scale to a certain extent. You can just throw money and people at it. If you have lots of money, lots of investors, you can throw a lot of money and scale your business in a non-process centric way, but it's very difficult. Good levels of automation will definitely help. Creating a systematic, repeatable approach is really the only way that the business owners or the shareholders can stop having a complete, utter dependency on themselves. So if you're a business owner and you get phone calls all day, all night from all the different offices, it's a good chance you haven't automated too much yet and you're thinking about it. And it's a very hard thing to do. It takes a bit of time to get all that right. It takes time out of the business, unfortunately, because you're working in the business, right? You're doing stuff that helps you develop your business. This stuff means you've got to go outside and work on the business. You're working, changing what your business is all about. It's kind of difficult. And one good thing that we found in recent times, the cloud's been around for a short time. It's growing astronomically, but the fact that these things are available in the cloud from lots of different vendors is the fact that you can have the same tools and automated processes in those tools on the cloud anywhere in the world, 24/7, 7 days a week, non-stop. And it doesn't matter, where you are, at home, in a hotel, in some other country, the same business tools are available from that. You just need internet connection, right? And that makes a big difference. Before this, we really had servers under the desk, right, with some software, or everyone had Excel and they emailed Excel spreadsheets around. I'm sure no one does that anymore, but occasionally it happens. But you had a server under the desk. You might have had another server in some other location running the same software, you hope. Is it getting backed up every night? Because that's a critical part of your business operations, right? All these things are very difficult. So having it on the cloud now means peace of mind. Wherever you are, it's available to all of the staff members, permissions, pending. So this is what Maestrano is all about. We've been around for a couple of years. We're an Australian company, started in Australia. There's a bit of a startup hub in Australia as well. There's a lot of good investment happening in the technology space. So we're a technology company. And we have some 50, 60 apps available today on our platform. We operate out of North America, Southeast Asia, based in Singapore, ANZ, based in Sydney, our head office. We have offices in the UK, but our EMEA operation is based in Dubai. Because I just happened to live here at the time, so we decided to make our operations here. But essentially, global companies, we're still a startup, mode, but it was back in 2012 that we started. We have more than 50 staff today, but still a small company. And some of the experiences we have in growing and that we kind of feel because our customer base is all SMEs, small businesses, small companies and startups. And basically, it's all about the cloud. So it's part of that new generation. The founders were Facebook generation, or whatever you want to call them. Generation, past. What's the latest one? But young guys who are really clever out of uni and just built some things, and then they knew that they wanted to scale, so they brought in some investors and other older people, if I can say that about myself, who could help them grow. And basically, we want to provide the same kind of tools that large companies have access to because they have lots of money and they've planned it accordingly. And those same tools we want to provide to smaller businesses and in a lot more cost-effective manner. So if you look on the cloud, there's lots of tools available, and I'll just show you a couple and then we can go into questions. Happy to say that we also recently even won some local awards and in terms of e-commerce and customer experience category at the International Business Excellence Award, but it's enough commercials. Essentially, we categorise the different apps in different areas. So we have HR, finance and accounting, CRM, we'll still call it that, operations, collaborations, business intelligence, web and e-commerce. So we have applications like Magento on our platform, Shopify is about to come on. So lots of choice, not one sort of tool. None of them are ours, but we offer those tools from other people. So in this region, I'm currently working with a number of companies to bring their apps to our marketplace, to our platform. Event management, inventory, so lots of good categories. In the last year, we've been really focused on horizontal tools to help most businesses, finance, etc. And now we started to target some vertical, so real estate, sales and lease, real estate. We've focused on tourism and hospitality. We've focused on a few other vertical industries, and it becomes more relevant to those verticals as we expand. And if you look on our website, there's literally at the moment it's about 60 something. There's going to be like 100 but in the new year. We have another 20 or 30 just getting ready to come on. And like I say, it's things like Shopify and some big names. We have QuickBooks, Xero, a lot of the popular ones around the world. But importantly, in this region, we're adding local apps where relevant. So I'm adding about 3 or 4 GCC-ready apps, one even which is Saudi only. It's a vendor that's built apps for the Saudi market, so we're bringing them on. And the key thing is that, I'll just go back. The key thing is that we integrate those applications. So a large company buys an SAP, an Oracle, or these big enterprise solutions. They're fantastic. They're integrated because they're expensive. But what we've done is integrated these other people's apps at the data level. So every time we onboard a new app, we help that vendor to integrate it between their data and all the other apps that are on our platform. So for example, if you have a CRM and a financial management tool, like an accounting tool, you don't have to create the customer twice or copy paste, or you don't have to export the account list every week to upload it into your other apps. You don't have to use point-to-point tools like Zapier and if this then that. There are lots of little tools you can use, but then you have to manage the workflows yourself, and we do it out of the box. So if you have a CRM and a financial tool, you add a customer, it comes in automatically. So there's some good things for SMEs that are typically not available, and that's kind of the sales pitch we do. Also, we do some live reporting. The second part of the sales pitch, and it will end there. Okay. The second part is that there's live reporting, which is helpful to SMEs and startups in terms of when you have something change in one app, that it may impact another app. So all of that is available, because the data is shared, is available for a nice analytics business charting, if you like, reporting system, which sits on top of all the different apps. So that's kind of our value to the market. And other than that, we've really just bringing on good apps that are already created by other people that are fantastic, and we just want to keep adding those on as we go. If some of you are still thinking about, is the cloud, I don't know, is anyone really confused about the cloud and whether that's going to really help, or is it worth spending a minute on why people are moving to the cloud? I mean, there's some technology guys in this room I know, because there was a couple of earlier presentations, but essentially the traditional IT model is a server under the desk, or a big server in a computer room, I guess, if you have that. And that's been the traditional for the last 50 years, right? Over the last 10 years, it's changed, because the cost of doing these things is really astronomical. You need IT skilled staff, and you need to buy computer equipment, which needs upgrading all of the time. You need to buy application software, which is doing the work, but it's constantly changing. You know, if the operating system needs to be updated, then you need to update the version of your inventory management system or your this system. And for an SME, it's become diabolical. It's why we use Excel, right? Because you can't afford to muck about with these other complex applications, which probably do the job, but it's just too much trouble, right? So in the cloud, you basically pay for what you use per month, per day, whatever, number of users, and that's it, 24/7, around the clock. You don't have to back up anything anymore. That would be nice for some. And I've been into some SMEs where they had a server, they were running an accounting system, an inventory system, and they assured me that it was being backed up. And I said, look, that's good. You know, you need to make sure that your whole business in one accounting system is backed up regularly. And upon checking, you know, further, I got him worried when I spoke to him. He checked, and apparently one of the database directories, or whatever they were called, was not being backed up. So half of it was backed up, the other half was not. So, I mean, if you have a server on the desk, please just make sure you're backing it up properly and that you don't have any issues later. And it's only when you have a disaster that you need to know. So here on the cloud, it's backed up every day, constantly. It's just a move, you know, you don't have to worry about backup. If a server goes down, it's automatically switched to another one. You don't even notice that that server's died. You might have a little glitch for a minute and go, what's going on? Try again, and it's back up. So that sort of thing really makes a difference to small business. This is a sample of the analytics. Again, don't want to get into a pitch mode. Want to leave you with food for thought where you could start looking for tools that your business will find valuable, you know, whether it's CRM or finance or other things. But essentially, one of the good things that we do is then we give multi-app analytics on top. And I can really show you a little bit of that. And I can do a quick demonstration, which is over there. Or we could have a few questions, or how do you want to do this? What's good for you guys? A quick demo or?
Quick demo.
Quick demo? Would that help? I can take total casual questions as we go as well.
How many customers are using the platform?
This platform, there's many thousand. It's in North America, it's quite popular. So it's in the, I mean, we have contracts in hand, to be transparent, which go into the hundreds of thousands of users. It's quite advanced. In the UAE, it's a couple of dozen. You know, we're just starting out in this region, but it has a tendency to grow very fast because it's quite valuable. So low cost and integrated platform. In Australia, we have similar sort of volumes. Think about it, in the UAE, there's 300,000 SMEs, from 1 employee to 20. 300,000 SMEs. And a lot of these organisations are doing great stuff in their own businesses, but they don't have access to good tools, or when they do, it's disparate and across different user sets. So thank God we have a good market, and North America is very competitive, but it's very big volumes. And in the UK, we've just opened an office recently, and that's looking good. One of the things to answer your question a little bit further is that we don't just target to work with SMEs. We work with large organisations that reach the SMEs. So typically telcos, typically large banks are engaging with us to help their SMEs. Audit firms, accounting firms, they partner with us as well. So that's how we kind of reach the SMEs in the end. Sorry, another question? Yeah, I'll start the demo. Yep.
So you onboard other people's apps.
Yep.
And I'm sure they have their own charging system, their own per use charges or monthly charges or whatever there is.
Yep.
How do you adapt their charging mechanism, and do you add a part on that, or you change the whole scheme altogether?
No, that's a great question. So for those of you who heard the question in terms of how do we charge for the apps, it's basically exactly the same price that's available directly with that vendor, and we negotiate a back-to-back where we take a commission or a margin for the apps we sell on their behalf. Because imagine you have an app here, and I'm talking about maybe taking it to 100,000 users in North America. If that's a valuable thing, we can maybe, negotiate a margin.
So you're not charging additional for doing the data integration?
No, that's the same price. So I'll talk a little bit about that in the end, actually. I'll do a quick demo, and then we'll come back to that, because that's a good question as well, yeah. So I just got to use it with one hand. Essentially, if you go to our website, there's a little bit of detail around that data integration and how it works. There's some videos. You can have a look at exactly how we actually achieve that. It's, incidentally, we have a worldwide patent on that technology that we created to integrate disparate apps. It's very important for SMEs because they're not going to do the integration themselves. They can try using different tools, but it always breaks. So this is out of the box integrated from a data perspective, which is quite helpful. So you can see a few videos. It talks about the different apps and with or without, but essentially today we have scrolling. So we have quite a few accounting style applications. There's quite a few more coming on board today. The major ones in North America are QuickBooks and Xero and Mind Your Own Business. There's quite a few different specific apps around accounting. We're actually adding about 3 or 4 big names that are coming on, other than QuickBooks and Xero. So these are pretty worldwide industry standard for accounting practices and stuff like that. So that's quite good place to start. Maybe you'll grow out of them, but it's a really good place to start. There are other things there like receipt management. There are automated accounts receivable management, things like that. To scan an invoice, it automatically goes into your accounting system. Things like that are quite helpful. So there's a few other, sort of peripheral apps. CRM, between vTiger and Sugar CRM, they have over 1 million users worldwide. They're quite good CRMs. It's funny because the company I left recently, IBM, is the worldwide largest user of Sugar. So Sugar CRM is really gets deployed quite well. But these are good SME-focused CRMs. They're $10 a month, basically, sort of scale per user. So they're not astronomical for some other CRMs are enterprise ready and have lots of things in them, but cost a little bit too much for our little guys. Yeah? So that's why we focus on the ones that bring value. Anyway, you can sort of peruse that at your leisure. HR, we have a few offerings. Office 365, just like everyone else, and lots of developer tools, collaboration tools. Business analytics is quite strong. Magento, we have Shopify coming on in a month. We have a lot of point of sale apps and sort of retail inventory management coming through. Web apps, open source, Drupal, Joomla, those sorts of things. They're quite popular, but open source. Needless to say, we harden all our apps because some of these are quite exposed in terms of vulnerabilities. So we actually harden them fairly well, and they're in an encrypted VM, if you like, so it's no breaking into those. How are we going for time? All right. Anyway, lots of other things, education. Let me quickly, pricing, just so you literally, as soon as this mouse works, you can do QuickBooks for $7.99, that's for the entry level. Eventbrite is free. You guys probably use Eventbrite anyway, that's free. If you charge for it, oops, what's happened there? If you charge for an event, then they take, I've just clicked on it, that's what's happened, sorry. If you charge for an event with Eventbrite, they charge you a commission. We take a commission off the commission, and that's how we make our money. But essentially, the good thing about that is that if you have a person come to an event that you don't know, it automatically goes into your CRM as a lead. If you charge for if you run events and you charge for the tickets, then that charge, which comes out of PayPal, right? So Eventbrite uses PayPal. So that charge automatically goes into your accounting system as an invoice and a payment. So this is what this integration is about, yeah? Anyway, so that if you go to our website, you can see everything's between $7 and $30 a month, basically. So it's quite user friendly, and more importantly, I'll just show you. This is the quickly show you. This is the kind of dashboards that you would get. These are multi-app, multi-geography. Doesn't matter how far you scale in terms of geography. These apps will be for integrated data across all of your business units. So multi-company, it's quite important. So this is like the P&L, which is one app maybe, or you might have multiple accounting applications. This is consolidated in one place and very sort of feature-rich. You know, you can basically get the data you want. Lots of dashboards, lots of widgets to manage. I like this one on the right. This is the sales forecast. This is coming from multi-apps. And what's interesting is that November and backwards, because we're in November now, November and backwards is coming out of the accounting system. So please excuse our demo system. It's obviously, we sold nothing in September and October. But the going forward is coming out of the CRM. So this is the salespeople that are overly optimistic that they're going to sell something. So, you know, that would be an alarm bell going off that you're not selling anything, but you've got big ambitions, right? So this is the kind of tools you can see. Lots of different widgets that you can use to manage, whether it's HR, payroll, sales, all the different aspects and disciplines. I'll just, before we go into any sort of questions, I'll just show you one thing. This is one app. This is a CRM. It's just a everyday CRM. It's vTiger. Very, very flexible, very easy to use. I just want to show you the data aspects. I'm going to add a company. Now, on the other tab here, I've got another application which is on another cloud. So we don't host all the applications. Some of them are on other clouds, other people's clouds. This is an ERP, very strong on inventory management, all that sort of thing. So for when businesses scale up a little bit, this is a very good tool for them. Both these apps running on different clouds, if you like, yeah? And if I go and, actually I've got to refresh because the network's timed out, so let me just go home there. And I'll add a company. Someone give me a name of their company. So what's the name of your company?
MOKA.
MOKA? MOKA. RI.
International.
International. And how do you pronounce that? Mukaria. Okay. And I'll just add a little bit of data here, just so we have something in there that's relevant. And hopefully I've got all the fields I need. I'll just say no down there. So I've saved a company called Mukaria International into the CRM tool. Now in the ERP, this is running on a completely different cloud. As soon as I hit refresh on third parties here, and we have already on the far right hand side. So these are different apps running on different clouds, that two companies that we partner with. One's called vTiger, one's called Dollybar. Those two apps we've integrated. This is where our patent comes in, how we've done that. I mean, obviously it's done through APIs and connectivity and all sorts of tricky stuff, but essentially, instead of you having to worry about bringing those things together, we've done it. And it makes it very, very much easier for SMEs to be able to manage their business without having to worry about import, export, cut and paste, etc. Please.
How do you manage when those apps do like an upgrade?
Yeah, we take every single, probably we can go back to, which one is it, this one? No. Every single app that we onboard, we have a back-to-back with that partner where we'll get access to all of the different bug fixes and all that. Because we harden everything, we don't just, except if it's on their cloud. In some cases, when we're integrating to their cloud, it doesn't matter. They do the updates. And then if anything breaks between the integration, that's our problem. So we have to have good agreements with them. But essentially, if it's on our infrastructure, we then manage the source code and the releases very tightly. Because when you have a couple of 100,000 customers, so you've got to be pretty careful. I've got a few other things just to finish off.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry. Basically, it's just thank you. So, please.
You have a local team here.
Yes, so you're looking at it at the moment. I'm developing. That's right.
So dev support, DevOps support is provided here, or?
Yeah, we have 3 support centres. One in Australia, which is a bit far for this time zone. One in North America, also not so good. But then we've got one in the UK, based out of England, that supports this region. It's early days. We're new to this region, but we don't have a lot of customers yet. That's developing quite fast. But we'll have an operations centre in London, and here we'll have local staff to do the business support.
Any constraints on the data hosting in terms of all these clouds, the data being hosted in this region?
Yeah, that's a great question. so how much time do we have? So the data sovereignty is a major issue with a lot of government departments in this region. SMEs don't care at all. I have not found one SME that was worried about where the data was. They were more worried about whether it was getting backed up or whether they could access it wherever they wanted to. Mostly they're more concerned about the security of who can see my data and how they can provide access. But where it is, no SMEs cares. Honestly, it's something I love to have a chat about. We don't have a lot of time today, but I'll tell you, it's going to go away. That issue about where the data is, other than defence and government-specific industries, it's going to go away completely. We can't expect all application vendors, all capability providers, to base their clouds here. You can't have a cloud in every country. It's just not ever going to make sense. So we have to be more concerned about the security of it. We do have to be concerned about those things. But interesting, really big topic. And one thing for sure is the security is about 10 to 20 times what SMEs experience today themselves. If you have a server under the desk, big problems, and emailing spreadsheets around, guess what? In the clear. Anyone that wants to sit on a server and watch that server can pick up your spreadsheets, because they're getting sent around without encryption, right? Unless you specifically use PGP or something, right? So, yeah, please, another question. Yeah.
So when you're dealing with all of the apps and the integration for a company, now we're talking about this region. So
Yes.
A lot of it is, like I saw, Australian dollars, US dollars, addresses
yeah.
and stuff. So how do you make sure, like, okay, we're connecting, and that integration is valuable data for us? Because there's great apps out there, but it's not really specified
Yeah,
for the region. So have you solved
Yeah, great question. I think the demo I showed had I was connected to the Australian site, so it's all AUD. There's AED support. There's no problems. So one of my biggest challenges is to bring on local vendors. We are not the owners of those apps, so we want to bring good. We vet them. We want to make sure they're good apps. There are lots of great innovative companies in this region that we can leverage them, bring them on the platform, help them integrate into the data layer. So for example, HR, all of the HR apps we had on the platform are useless to us here because of our legislation and all the governance that we have in Dubai, in particular the UAE rather. So we're bringing on 2 or 3 different local HR payroll app vendors that will meet those requirements. Obviously, we're dealing in Saudi. We have to Arabize for Saudi, UAE, Qatar, etc. So we're doing some Arabic translations, but certainly currency-wise, it's not a problem. Yeah.
and addresses and stuff like that, like with this customer data?
Yeah.
And that main thing, because like one main thing is like you always see the zip code
Yeah.
requirements and all
We
of
can
that.
fix. Yeah.
So all of that is
it's all of that can be customized. I think with the CRMs in particular, that's where it's sort of the Americanized stuff by default appears. But that's a really simple change. Yeah, that is. Maybe not everything is covered, but we can certainly customize it and change it to suit local conditions.
Same thing about the accounting having value-add taxes or things like that.
That's right. Yeah, there is that. Sometimes on the accounting side, we're really reliant on those accounting vendors. All of them operate here already. So QuickBooks has been here for 20 years. Sage, which is just coming on with us, has been here for 20 plus years, 30 years. So all those vendors are here and have offerings already. So we just bring them into our platform. We've already agreed with QuickBooks is integrated, Xero is integrated. So we use the UAE QuickBooks as an example. So I mean, we still got to work all the time at that. It's a really good question, and not everything's perfect, but it's better than using a American-based, hosted product, because we can actually change it for local region. Please.
Question about the data. So, for a lot of companies, their most valuable asset is their data.
Yeah.
And the data is hosted on your databases, on the cloud.
Yes, on the cloud. Yes.
So, two questions: how can they get access to their data?
Yep.
What I mean by access is full like a data dump
Yep.
on a regular basis.
Yep.
In case something happens to your cloud or your company.
Yep. Totally.
And number two is, how can they limit access to that data?
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, a company like Uber,
Yep.
their main business is data.
Yeah.
So for them to have other people have access to that data, legal or not,
Yeah.
can be an issue. How do you
Good point.
protect that?
So I'll answer the second one first. Basically, the data, if you use one app and the data is your data, we don't get to use your data. It's what's in your databases is your data. We can't touch it. Okay, that's contractually done, and it's actually encrypted and secure anyway. But if we're supporting you, you have a problem. We may see your data, so you have to give us permission if there's an issue. When we back up the data, it's encrypted data that's backed up. If you want your data, all these things, because we operate in North America, can you imagine the legal requirements? So basically, if you need your data in full, we have to provide it to you within a couple of hours. But you can get regular exports, self-serve, or if you really need to just get a regular total download of everything, we can do that for you as well.
Extra charge or is part of
No, it's part of the thing. Yeah. So the other thing is there's lots of all of the hosting we do. If your website's there, we host that. The storage, everything. Within reason. We're not crazy. But within reason, it's unlimited storage, unlimited web access, unlimited emails. It's within reason. It's really tuned for SME. So we don't expect an SME to blast 10 million people and stuff like that, right? So. But if you're a video editing company, we might say, hey guys, give you a call and say, hey, please, we might send you a bill if you're not careful. Yeah.
I was just about to ask you, because you're a film company, so I was just about to ask, what are
sorry.
the
Go on. Sorry.
what are the data requisitions for business, for edu-entertainment business?
So what was the question? How?
It was just a follow-up to your video editing. Video editing is only part of the whole game when you're an entertainment company.
If you're what sort of entertainment? Films.
1-2 TV is a minimum for a short. A long is a much bigger.
So hey, I tell you what, we as Maestrano can't help you with your fancy video editing stuff, right? You guys have got the stuff, So you have the video editing, all that. You have the storage. You probably have exabytes of storage, so you can manipulate those video streams. We can help you with everything that's commercial, CRM, business applications. I wouldn't recommend you try and use our cloud for some of that video stuff. Some of our customers use the CRM tools, for example, to load documents and pictures and stuff like that. So there's no limit to any of that, but obviously it's not video, so it's reasonable stuff. We use a reasonable test. We're Aussies, right, Australians, and Australians like to just call it out pretty plain, So except if it comes to cricket, right? That's the other thing, Any other questions or?
What service level do you guarantee?
Service levels? To the SME or to, so we have different service levels, good question. To the SME, so if, assuming you're an SME, we would give you service levels that we will back up your data twice a day. We actually do it 3 or 4 times, but the service level is twice a day. So if you lose everything, or someone comes in and wipes everything, right, can happen. They have super user password and they wipe everything. Now, I didn't answer your second part of the question last time, actually. I'll come back to it. And so if a user wipes everything because you've given them the permissions to do it, what happens then? So you've lost everything up to the last backup, which could be anywhere maximum 8 hours according to our SLA, and then it could be as low as 3 hours. We have other SLAs around performance, which is really based on cloud technology. So cloud technology, even the Amazons and those guys, and we use a lot of their infrastructure. We use basically bare metal servers out of Amazon, Rackspace, and different, we don't depend on one provider, but we kind of have similar SLAs as those. So it's not 99.99, but it's like 98% uptime. Reasonableness again, right? So we have not, in the 2 years we've been operating live, we've not had a single outage, even though the infrastructure we've been on has, which is interesting because we have active backup of our servers and the data is shared between apps. That means we're able to do instant, crossover to another platform. So instead of hours out, we were minutes out. So reasonable is what I'd say to that question. Yeah.
Second part of the question?
Yeah, second part of the question, security access. That was a good question. And I'm sorry I bypassed that. So to avoid those rogue individuals wiping out your whole data, you have access to the platform where the owner of the business and his or her delegates can assign different levels of access. The super user access is able to give access to apps to individuals, and it's also part of the billing mechanism because it's charged per user per month, right? So you don't want to give it to everyone, so you just allocate it to the right people. And then only those people have access to those apps. So the salespeople don't see the accounting tools. That's very important. The reverse is also true, or is it? I don't know. But so you don't want to spend all your time trying to limit access. Within the tools themselves, each of them have their own user levels, which we try and map, but it's quite a difficult thing to do because everyone is different. So when you go into the tool, you can then override the default things that come from our app. So in other words, who can see what, etc. So it's very granular, and essentially you don't want the wrong people to have access even at all to the wrong apps as far as you're concerned. So we stop that. More technical questions? Yeah, sorry.
We keep talking about apps. So just to clarify, you're referring to web and mobile apps or just web?
Web and mobile apps, yeah. Everything you saw today here is also, I could demonstrate on the mobile phone. Yeah. So, and not all apps provide mobile solutions. So, but if they're web-based, that sort of works. But if they have a mobile app, it's fully supported. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that was kind of interesting for you in terms of tools and why you may or may not need tools. And some of the tools on our platform are really, industry kind of recognised as being the leaders. But we don't have them all. So there are other great vendors on the cloud. If you keep an eye, we're adding apps all the time. So if there's an app that you really love, you can let us know about it. We can try and bring them to the platform. Particularly interested in local apps. So local vendors who are adding cloud-based services, we'd love to work with them to provide our customers some value.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Yeah.